Welcome to Éxito in Minutes. I'm here with
Alex Espinosa,
my co-host, and I'm Troy Blanchard. Thanks for joining us today. We're super excited. Éxito in Minutes is all focused about how in minutes we can learn the best practices, valuable tips to help you achieve your full potential. We're inviting experts to come in, and they're going to share inspirational stories. Our main purpose is when you're concluding listening to these podcasts that you will be a better person and take some of those best practices, learn not just from us, but from our guests. Thanks for joining us.
thank you for being with us here in the second part of Defining Moments. So now it's time to listen from you, Troy, about your defining moments. Tell us a little bit about it.
I think within Defining Moments is a framework that Daphne and I have always lived by. And I also want to say, if you're single, right, it's the same, right? In the sense of our framework, we decided together of how we're going to base our decisions. And a lot of it is what you already mentioned in the podcast, which is thinking it out, right? Like when you have a defining moment in your life and you got to make a decision, these four roads in front of you, and you have to make a decision, then think it out, write it out, make a plan, and refer to your own core values. And then for us, the most important is to engage God, to pray and meditate and seek out answers. And I feel like the first there's defining moments I know throughout my life. And there's one that really, kind of sticks. That's very similar to your situation. It's happened 3 times in my career. Basically, I've spent my whole teenage years wanting to be a police officer. I came down here to Ecuador, Guayaquil South for 2 years. I went back when I was 21, went up to school. And when I got to school, I started studying for 4 years criminal justice. And as soon as I graduated, I applied for a police department, got onto a police department. Within 1 year, applied to the FBI, was going through the testing. I think I had 1 test left, maybe 2, probably 2 tests left to get into the FBI. And I had this opportunity where completely separate from law enforcement, where one of my best friends had started a sports apparel company, and kind of fast forward a little bit, even cooler, my brother was working there. And then my other college roommate, who was another one of my best friends, and all these guys and other really close friends from college were working there. And suddenly I felt like I should leave law enforcement and go work there.
Defining moment.
It is. And now you got to go to your framework. Okay, what are my values? My values very similar to yours. I want time with my family. One of the things that I loved about law enforcement is I love to help people and be engaged, and you arrive on scene in some of their lowest moments and try to have compassion and understand and help them. And then one of the harder things was I wasn't home a lot because I had 2 police jobs to make enough money. And it wasn't gonna, and I don't mean afford the life that I wanted in the sense of having very luxurious things, but Daphne and I want to travel, and we want our kids to know the world and learn another language. And we felt it would be easier if we pivoted into a new career. And when that moment came, it was one of the ways you can find out the direction you should go. If you have 2 or 3 directions, is you start to get excited and see all the positive things that could happen over here. And then you're very methodical. You should put together your plan and write it down. And is it in alignment with where you want to develop in your life? And then the most important is then start to pray and feel guided, irrespective of religion. God is going to answer prayers no matter what religion you're in, right? And you just seek after that and pray, and you ask Heavenly Father, hey, can you help me in this decision? And things just made sense and fell together to leave. And when I left, certainly a lot of people were like, what? This is
it was your dream job.
Yeah.
It was like, why? And how many were in your family at that time?
2 kids. I had 2 kids. The craziest part of that, and I don't want to go too long on this because I know we only have about 15 minutes, but basically we lost our insurance. We walked away from health insurance. We walked away from everything that was comfortable. We had no income, right? And we lived on a credit card, and month after month, we put everything on a credit card until I could sell enough team sports apparel. And I was trying to prove that I could become a leader in this company and help run the company, which at the time was with my brother and the owner that was running the company.
Did you know anything about sales?
No. And I think we're all salesmen, right? I think there's a part that we're all salesmen, but I also feel like I had no framework. I had no understanding about closing and how to close somebody, and I didn't. We had an incredible product, and it was priced at a perfect price point, and we ended up through a trial of 3 months of not selling anything, and then boom, just the phone wouldn't stop ringing. And so it was something that when I pivot and look back, I was there for 12 years till it happened again. And I got to help this company scale in those 12 years. And we had ups and downs, and I got to work with, like I said, my best friends. Everybody that worked there is incredible. I had this incredible, and I know I keep saying that, but it's hard to articulate what it's like to constantly be in an environment that you love being in.
Yeah.
And then later on, when fast forward, we're in Costa Rica, I was working remote for this company. And one day Daphne looked at me and she's like, "You're not growing anymore. You're not being challenged, and you're not growing to the level you can grow at. I think it's time to pivot." And that was the first time I felt it. And I was like, I could feel she was speaking truth. Truth was spoken. I felt it. I recognized it. I believe God helped me feel it. And I knew I had to pivot, and I didn't want to. That is a pattern in our life, right?
The second time. And you said something about 3 months. What happened on those 3 months when you started your new job?
Oh, it was, I can't describe it other than the word hell. It was a grind. Daphne got into a basement of her parents' house, which it's snowing at the time. She has 2 kids, we had 2 kids, so she had to get up at 5 a.m. She would call 100 phone calls a day to get me one appointment. I was a 2-day drive away. I was clear in Kentucky. I'd get up in the morning and she would have me drive. It's the equivalent here in Ecuador. My first appointment's in Guayaquil at 7. My second appointment is in Quito at 5.
No
I would
way.
literally go to my appointment, drive 7.5 hours, and go to my next appointment. I did it every single day for 3 months, and we didn't get one order. Not one. We had one. We had one coach that placed an order. I visited, 50, 60, 70 schools in those 3 months. So it's 2 a day, so a lot more than that, probably a couple hundred schools. And we didn't get any sales, and we got into more debt than we've ever been in our life. But the entire time I felt peace. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. My belief is God respects effort, and he loves effort. And if we can invoke with faith and we feel guided to move towards to do something and we go all in, he will be there. And after 3 months, orders poured in. And suddenly the goal that we were going after is I wanted desperately to run the company as a leader with the owner, with my brother at the time that was in the office. There's only 2 people in the office. And I achieved it. And I got to go up there, and I had a beautiful 12 years of that part of my career.
Now, after 12 years, now again, you receive inspiration, because that's the most impressive word here. Is like you receive inspiration and you take the courage to follow that inspiration.
Oh, it's hard.
Now, for the 3rd time, you received that inspiration. So how many were in your family?
So the second time that it happened was when I was in Costa Rica. We have 4 kids down in Costa Rica, all 4, and Daph looks across the bed and she says, "You're not growing, you're not developing, time to make a pivot." I delayed, time to make a pivot. And just like your story where you have to make a pivot, you don't know where, magically a good friend of mine called me on the phone and it was like, ding, that's the moment. And everything made sense. Wow. How do I leave working with my best friends, which I always say best friends, my brother, right? That's how many people get to work with their brother. It was so incredible. I lived near family. It was just this beautiful environment. These owners had created this work. But I said goodbye to that because, again, this made sense. It was within our core values. We were principally, we believe in being spiritually minded, but so spiritually grounded, globally minded is our family motto, right? It's something that Daphne and I talk about, and it was in alignment with that. And so I went on to a new career that I loved for 7 years, absolutely loved. It was amazing. It was invigorating. It was a different owner, different style. I learned to work international. I worked a bunch in China, Central America, a lot of studies in Japan. They spent a lot of money on my education. It was literally a very difficult, challenging, and rewarding place to work that I ended up loving. There was different parts that I worked, but I was mainly working in Tijuana, Mexico, with just the most incredibly talented people that I just love the people of Mexico. I love the people of Ecuador. It was just a beautiful experience. And again, 3rd time,
Whoa.
I was told that I was going to be the next president. I was the president in training, which I'm sure I would have been. I should believe him.
You were in China, you were in Japan.
I was the vice president,
Like,
had dozens of leaders. With other vice presidents, we were running this company together. And
so there was room for growing. It's like there's no more a place where you cannot grow or learn. There was that place where you were offered to be the president of the company.
yeah.
And then came the third inspiration.
Yeah, and that one was the same. It was time to move on. And I would say that never did I think that I would end up leaving a career, a salary, and go start our own companies and not have another job. And at the age of 49, this is 48 when I found this out. So I remember calling a friend down here in Ecuador, and he's like, dude, what? No, you're 49, bro. Don't leave, right? But the thought process was we were supposed to leave and do something different. I thought it was just somewhere else in San Diego. So I started looking at other companies. I had no job, and I have a really cool friend that was a friend of Daphne and I's that said, hey, let me help you find some consulting jobs. And he helped us. And then that job segued a way for us to come to Ecuador. We felt like we were supposed to come to Ecuador. And that was a hard leap. The comforts of where we were at, I can retire there. I could stay there. It was a very, very fun and vigorous, challenging, hard, but cushy job in the sense that I had everything that I would need to be successful. And we were told to leave again. And I go back to the framework. So if you're making a decision in your life, right, and you have to go through 3 or 4 steps. One, I'm advocating what you believe in, turn to that. For me, I'm saying turn to God and ask, right? Expect an answer. Seek it out, put in effort, write down the plan, and talk to a loved one. And talk to somebody that you feel that knows you and knows what's best for you. If you're married, if it's with kids, I turned at that time to my wife. My son was living at home. I turned to him and talked to him. And they both felt the same thing, that we should leave the United States and come here. And we have no job here. There's no income here. And so it's a very difficult decision to make. But I also believe Carrie Underwood just like coined this, and it's been sticking in my head, the song of Jesus Take the Wheel. And I believe that when you turn it over, your life, to saying, I'm going to grind, I'm going to work as hard as I can, but when I have defining moments that are coming in my life, I'm going to turn to God, and I'm going to make sure that I'm inspired. I'm going to do what he wants me to do to help me become somebody I don't even imagine who I can become. Because to me, I'm fine where I'm at, right? But then I realized, no, I got to learn more, and you need to learn more, and you need to learn more. And I feel like if more people do that in the world, if they turn to like introspection, meditation, might be prayer, whatever they turn to, and live life with intentions, you're going to find success with action.
Wow. Well, what would it be, your life now, if you would have been deciding not to follow the first inspiration? I think I would have been a federal law enforcement agent, and I probably would have loved it. And I believe my beliefs are that God is going to help you reach your maximum potential in any job that it's like what you talked about in the other podcasts. The train of opportunity is what they say down here in Ecuador. I love that. Just because it passed you by once doesn't mean it doesn't come back again. And I could have said no to that inspiration, and I wouldn't have had that beautiful experience to live close to my family, to have all that really cool. And I would have had another really probably beautiful experience. So if you feel like you've been passed by twice the train of opportunity, get prepared so when that train comes again, like you said last time, so you can seize the moment. I think every pathway I would have taken, if I would have stayed at that team sports apparel, which is called Prolux Sports, which is amazing. If I would have stayed there, I think I would have been extremely successful, and I would have learned, but maybe not to the level of what I need to learn. And the other thing is, when you're married, it's not about you. It's not about you and your career. It's about your kids and your wife's career. And so Daphne wanted to go get her master's. She wanted to become educated, and you are an equal. And I think that I didn't want to be that person that was like, my career is everything. So I needed to turn to my wife and say, what do you want? Where do you want to go? And engage your own spouse. If you're the working woman and your husband's at home, so with the kids, which isn't common here, but if that is the case, engage them and decide what they want and where they want to go. And so when those defining moments come, you're aligned with your partner,
right? You're aligned with where they want to go. And that's part of that framework that you have to make decision. If you're single and you haven't, it's the same thing. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go to? Choose where you want to go with intentions and pray that it'll happen. And then do every action you can make to get to where you want to go.
So I think, how bad is to think that if I made a mistake or if I didn't take the opportunity, I didn't get up in the train, is it bad? Is it going to ruin my life forever?
No. Oh, heck no. No. I think that's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've not gotten on the train a few times myself, and you just learn from it and you're like, oh, I should have done that. If that opportunity comes again, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be ready.
It was so inspiring, you know. I really love, and I'm gonna say these last words for me. Inspiration, it's the word that sticks in my head. It's like inspiration, and having enough courage to follow it and to be, you know, that kind of person that can go further than it was supposed to be. So thank you so much. It was so inspiring. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.